Good evening. It's great that our youth have got this area wide at Asheville Road tonight. I know it's hard when they go away, but what a blessing that they have like-minded Christians that they're able to grow with and be encouraged and also encourage. Tonight, want to kind of build off of our lesson this morning as we talked about walking in God's will. Our focus for this year is naturally His will. But walking in His will, one of the points was that we walk in love. And that came straight from Ephesians 5 and verse 1 and 2, if you'd like to turn there with me. But Ephesians 5, 1 and 2 says, "Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love. As Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." That really answers what it means to walk in love. Christ loved us, gave Himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. You think about that walk of love when that cross was literally on His shoulders as He walked up Golgotha. As He was stretched onto that cross, this literally is a walk of love. It's a sacrifice to walk in love daily. A daily decision to die to ourselves. I mentioned this morning how I would die for my family. If faced with a situation where I needed to jump in front of a bullet, if I needed to do something to help my boys and my wife, I would die for my family. But I mentioned how that's something that's a quick snap decision. And it's something we make that decision, and within those moments, we jump to action, but it's one and done. Can we walk in love? Can we live for our family? Can I live for my family today? Can I live for my family tomorrow? That's a decision that we make every day, and that's not one and done. That is continual. And so I mentioned this, and there's an individual who said he would die for Jesus, and yet in the very same breath, within hours, he failed. He didn't live for Jesus. And it reminds me of it's really in John chapter 13 and verse 36, Simon Peter said to the Lord, this is impetuous Peter, if you will. He said, "Where are you going?" And Jesus answered him, "Where I'm going, you cannot follow me now, but you'll follow me afterward." Peter said to him, "Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for you." Jesus answered, "Will you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, the rooster will not crow till you have denied me 3 times. Peter was prepared to die for the Lord, but not knowing that this was exactly what the Lord was about to do for Peter. Peter was willing to die for Jesus, but I believe he was telling the truth, but he failed to live for Him. Later on in John 21, this is after he's denied Jesus those 3 times, after what Jesus' words came to fruition. We understand after Jesus' death, His burial, and His resurrection, the apostles who had all scattered came back. They returned to be with Jesus. And it almost gets a sense that Peter, he got off the hook a little bit. That wasn't brought up, that he had actually denied Jesus. And Jesus has already been, He's already interacted with them. And in John chapter 21, we have that interaction. In verse 17, this is after Jesus has already asked him twice, "Do you love me?" He says, "Yes, I love you. Feed my sheep, feed my lambs." Verse 17, he said to him the 3rd time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was grieved because he said to him the 3rd time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." I think it's important that we look at the 3 times that he affirmed that he loved Jesus. And there were 3 times where he had denied Jesus. There is definitely a correlation to this. But verse 18, he says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young," Jesus says this to him, You used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted, but when you're old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." This he said to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God. And after saying this, he said to him, "Follow me." Those two words are extremely important. I was speaking with Jeffrey about this account this morning after services, and he pointed out the significance of verses 20 through 22, and I hadn't thought that through, and I wanted to bring this up. Look at verse 20. It says, "Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved," this is John, "who following them, the one who had been reclining at table close to him, and he said, 'Lord, who is it that is going to betray you?'" It's the one who said, "Lord, who is it that is going to betray you?" That's what John had said to him. Verse 21, "When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, 'Lord, what about this man?' And Jesus said to him, 'If it is my will that he remains until I come, what is that to you? You follow me.'" It's a classic impetuous Peter. He's just been told that he is going to die for Jesus. He is going to lay down his life for Jesus eventually, if he simply follows him. If he follows him. But as a result of hearing this very challenging statement, he says, "What about John? What about him? Is he going to die too?" And that's what he's asking, because that's what Jesus says in response. You know, what is that to you? If he should remain until I come, he says, "Follow me." For us, to walk in love means to follow him. And this will result in our life dedicated to him. This will result in us not dying for him, but living for him until we die. Luke 9:23 through 24 tells us how to follow him. "And he said to all, 'If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it.'" Tonight, my question is a simple one. Will you save your life in obedience to Jesus? Will you simply follow Jesus? Tonight we have an invitation that we offer, and it's to make sure that your life is right with God, to make sure that you are following him. And if you need any prayers of this congregation, if we can encourage you in any way, please respond now while together we stand and while we sing.